All right, you guys. So today we are going to get a look at the Black Series, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Ahsoka Tano, Mandalorian Super Commando, the 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper, and the Mandalorian Loyalist. So we are going to get a look at all four of these figures here today, straight from the Clone Wars animated series. Very excited to get a look at all four of these figures, guys. I've been waiting for these figures for quite a long time. I'm sure a lot of you collectors out there know the fiasco with Walmart and their pre-order, as well as the release of these figures in store. Just real quickly, my experience with that. The day that the figures were announced, I did place my pre-order, a quite sizable pre-order, because most of these figures are army builders. So I wanted to go in deep with these figures. The majority of those figures in, I'm actually waiting for a couple of more to trickle in. So we are going to get a look at these guys. So I'm going to try to make this review as quick as possible. But of course, with so many figures, it can be a lengthy review, guys. So I will put a timestamp for the diorama portion of the review in case you guys want to skip the review and then go straight to the diorama. So you can find that timestamp in the comments down below. So guys, starting with the description on the box, guys, as usual with the new boxes, we have our Ahsoka Tano, the Mandalorian Super Commando, the 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper, and then of course the Mandalorian Loyalist. Across the top of all three boxes, we have our Black Series logo, and then underneath each character, we have the Clone Wars banner, which is absolutely cool, and then the description of the character in their respective boxes, our warning labels, 4 and up, and the Hasbro label across the board. On the side of the box, we have a depiction of all four of our characters. And then of course, if you add in the Clone Trooper, you can complete the full illustration of the characters together with the images in the background, which is absolutely awesome. I love this feature for the new boxes. Again, each one in their respective portraits with illustrations in the background for each. So on the background for Ahsoka's box, we have an illustration of Ahsoka actually engaged with battle with a Mandalorian, it looks like. And then for our 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper, we have the Republic gunships in the background for him. And then for our Mandalorian Loyalist, we have the moon in the background, which coincides with your Mandalorian Super Commando, which also has that same moon in the background. Fill out the full illustration for your portrait of these figures. So really, really cool stuff. And again, this is one of my favorite features of the new boxes. And then for the back of your boxes, you have the portrait of each one of your prospective figures. You also have a small blurb on each one of your prospective characters here as well. I'm not going to read those just to save some time here on this review. And then of course your Clone Trooper Commando is number 1 in the Clone Wars line, and then Ahsoka Tano would be number 2 in the Clone Wars line. Your 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper would be number 3, and then your Mandalorian Loyalist will be number 4, and then of course your Mandalorian Super Commando is number 5 in the line. So very cool and very awesome stuff there as well, guys. All right, guys, so we're gonna pull our figures out of the box. We're gonna get a look at all of the detail on each one of these figures. We're gonna get a look at all of the articulation on these figures, all of the accessories, and then of course, again, we will be putting these figures in a very cool diorama. As you can see, the background setting is the throne room on Mandalore. So I will be doing a diorama of the Siege of Mandalore, guys, with my army build of the Mandalorian Super Commando Troopers, the Mandalorian Loyalists, and the 332nd Clone Troopers. Stay tuned. All right, you guys. So we have our figures out of the boxes and absolutely cool, each and every one of them. Now, the only figure that I did take a look at prior to this particular review is the Ahsoka figure, because I did create a custom Ahsoka figure I will present here in just a few moments. But the other figures, fresh out of the box, my first time opening them up, and first impressions, very, very cool on each and every one of these figures. My favorite, just off of appearances, is obviously the Mandalorian Commando Trooper. Just an awesome looking trooper, guys. But we're gonna get a closer look at each and every one of these figures. And I'm going to start with the Mandalorian Loyalist. So let's go ahead and get a look at the Mandalorian Loyalist. All right, so getting you guys a look at the Mandalorian Loyalist. He is very awesome looking, very cool. It's just so exciting to get different versions of Mandalorians. It's been a long time coming, and so getting these guys is just absolutely awesome. So lots of very cool detail here, guys. You have some scuff marks on the armor, just awesome. Even down here, it's taking a lot of pounding down there, unfortunately. And you have a cool symbol, and then you also have another symbol here on the other side, on the other shoulder pad there, or the shoulder armor, I should say. So really cool stuff. And then on the shin armor, you have some scuffs there and there. So really nice job with the weathering. You have a light blue jumpsuit underneath the armor. And then of course you have all of your weapons, and flamethrower and everything, all of the accessories for your Mandalorian. And then getting you a look at the jetpack in the back. It's a very awesome looking jetpack. And you have your missile at the top there. A range of colors, red, a couple of different shades of gray are in there. So that's some cool stuff. You have his 2 side pistols on each side, and obviously they have their holsters. It's a very snug fit for the holsters. I had to kind of force those in there. And it's also the same for the Commando Mandalorian as well, but we'll get a look at that shortly. Now, the one thing that the Loyalist is missing, obviously, is the telescope that would be on, I believe, on this side, where he can pull it down, kind of like what Boba Fett has. We saw him use that a couple of episodes ago in the Mandalorian. And it looks like the Loyalists don't come with that telescope on their helmet, unfortunately. But otherwise, a very cool looking figure. He has his utility belt for storage. And then for your articulation, he's going to give you a straight arm like so. You get an elbow bend that only goes up about that far, unfortunately, because of the forearm weaponry. He will give you the 360 all the way around, which is cool. He's going to give you an excellent T-pose. Really awesome stuff. And I love the way that the shoulder armor goes inside there to give you that pose. So that's really cool on both sides. The twist is at the elbow. There is a twist at the wrist as well. You have a back and forth hinge in the wrist as well. The side is the same thing. You have a back and forth hinge. It's going to give you a straight out kick like so. There's your knee high. It does have the double hinge knee. So that's really cool. The list is going to give you a wide stance that's about that far. You have a twist in the thigh. There's your twist in the thigh. In the ankle, he's going to go down about that far. He's going to go up about that far, not too far. Of course, you have the swivel in the ankle as well. He's going to go down about that far, not too much range there. It's going to go back about that far. You do have range there going round. Then, of course, your left to right. Which is really cool. In the head area, he's going to go down really well. He's going to look up. Then, of course, you have your left to right and your head swivel. So very, very nice stuff there with your Mandalorian loyalist. So getting you guys a look at your Mandalorian Commando Trooper. Again, this is probably my favorite straight out of the box, just off of appearances alone. He just looks absolutely amazing. I love the color scheme. Very awesome on the shoulder armor there. I like that design. And then, of course, you got the little horns there on the shoulder pads, which is awesome. I don't think I've ever really noticed that before. But that is some very, very nice stuff. And then I love the horns on the top. Obviously, that is just great work. And even the paint design, you have Maul's color scheme on the top of the helmet, which is absolutely beautiful. That is just so awesome. And then on the chest armor, you just have some really, really nice detail, some scuff marks as well. Down to the shins. The shin armor looks pretty clean there, although this one does have scuff marks. Side pistols are a very, very tight fit. The weapons themselves, this obviously is a Mandalorian Commando Trooper side weapon. And I want to compare it to the weapon for our loyalist at both weapons. The loyalist being the silver one, and the Commando Trooper, Mandalorian Commando Trooper, this would be his weapon. So obviously it's the same weapon, same molding, a clear color difference between the two. So very, very cool stuff there, guys. And then of course you get a very good fit with the weapons in hand as well. Trigger finger for both hands fits right in the weapon. In regards to articulation, it's exactly the same as it is for the loyalist, because it is the same mode, same body. Everything's the same except for the design for your figure. Those would be your only differences on these, the paint scheme and the horns and whatnot, but everything else is virtually the same. So we're going to forego the articulation just to save time on this guy right here, but very, very cool stuff. Next up is going to be the 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper. So let's go ahead and get a look at this guy. So obviously this is a very special clone, simply because of the paint scheme on the helmet. Obviously, the paint scheme is meant to mimic Ahsoka. She was gifted these troopers by Anakin Skywalker in the season 7 of Clone Wars, and these are the clones that follow her into battle on to Mandalore in the Siege of Mandalore. So really, really cool stuff. And obviously these guys were taken from the Anakin's 501st. That's why they also have the blue color scheme. So very, very nice figure. And get you guys a closer look at that helmet. That is just awesome work. And I actually only have 3 of these guys. I have 3 more coming. However, they are delayed. So I have no clue when I'll be getting those, and I didn't want to hold this review up just to wait on those clones. I have at least 3 of these. That should be sufficient for the diorama, at least for this point anyway. Your clone does come with 2 weapons, typical weapons for your clone trooper. He has his large rifle and his side blaster, just a matte black on both weapons, no additional paint apps there. For your articulation, your 332nd Clone Trooper is going to give you a straight arm like so. Give you an elbow bend that goes up about that far. Then, of course, you do have the 360 motion that goes all the way around. You do get a very, very cool T-pose with your figure. Your twist is at the elbow. You also have a twist in the wrist. Have an up and down hinge in the wrist. For the other side, it is a back and forth hinge in the wrist. In the leg area, your 332nd Clone Trooper is going to go straight out like so. Very cool. The knee high that goes about that high. He's only going to go back about that far because it is not the double jointed knee. Your 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper is going to give you a wide stance that's about that far. So you have a twist at the thigh. You also have a twist at the knee. So you have a twist at the knee. In the ankle, it's going to go down about that far. It's going to go up about that far. And of course you have the rocker in the ankle as well. Torso, he's going to go down that far, back that far, and you have a really decent range all the way around with your left to right. In the head area, he's going to go down that far, back that far, left to right, and your head nod. So very, very cool. So last and never to be least is going to be our Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars. So let's get a look at our Ahsoka Tano figure. So getting you guys a look at our Ahsoka Tano figure, she is absolutely awesome looking in her Clone Wars uniform. So that is just totally cool. And I love the detail on it. She kind of has the armor style on there. It's really, really nice. And then her chest piece that even mimics the Mandalorian armor with that middle centerpiece there, which is really cool. You even have a version of that design right here for the flap on the skirt as well. That is just awesome stuff. And then the boots, you get a look at her boots there. Very, very nice looking figure. It's a very, very nice looking head sculpt there. I love it. I think they had Rosario Dawson in mind, even with the skin tone a little bit. And we are going to get a comparison of the original release of this figure and this version of the figure. I also have a custom Ahsoka that I made from this version of the Ahsoka Tano figure. So we'll also get a look at that as well in just a few moments. And then of course her blue sabers as well, which is also new for this figure, because remember her other sabers were green, if I'm not mistaken. And in the Clone Wars, Anakin switched them to blue, and then eventually we know that those sabers will be turned to white. So really cool stuff. I love the attention to detail on her forearm guards there. That's just some nice stuff. For articulation on your Ahsoka Tano figure, Clone Wars, she's going to give you a straight arm. So she's going to give you a straight arm out like so. She's going to give you an elbow bend that goes back about that far. Then of course she does have the 360 motion for you. She's also going to give you an excellent T-pose, so that is absolutely awesome. Your twist is at the elbow. You also have a twist in the wrist. You have an up and down hinge in the wrist. For this side, you have a back and forth hinge in the wrist. The leg area, she's gonna kick out for you like so. Gonna give you a knee high that's about that high. Go back about that far. Your Ahsoka Tano figure is gonna give you a wide stance that's about that far. Your twist is in the thigh. Ankle area, she's gonna go down about that far. It doesn't go up too far because of the lip of the boots there. You also have a rocker in the boot as well. In the torso, she's gonna go down that far, back that far, and she has a really, really good range in the torso. And you have your left to right motion, which is really good. In the head area, she's gonna go down that far, up that far, your left to right, and she has the head nod for you as well. So for weapon storage for your Ahsoka Tano figure, she has the 2 holes on each side of her hip on her outfit. The only problem is that her hips kind of get in the way and really don't allow for the peg to go all the way in. It's actually kind of a hard fit, because you kind of have to pull that part up just to get it in the hole, just because the hips prevent the peg from going all the way inside. Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars Siege of Mandalore figure. So I wanted to get you guys a look at the 3 different versions of Ahsoka that I have in my collection. Obviously I have the original version that was released, which is the Rebels version of Ahsoka, a much older version of Ahsoka, versus the Clone Wars version of Ahsoka. She's actually a little bit shorter in stature as well, and we'll get a closer look at that. And then I also purchased a second Clone Wars Ahsoka and converted her over with the hood and cowl and customized her sabers. I need to kind of rework her sabers. They kind of got chipped a little bit with the white paint there. But she's my custom Mandalorian Ahsoka Tano figure. I can also use her for the ending of the Clone Wars after the ventilator has crashed and she has buried all of her troopers with red. Custom Ahsoka Tano would fit there as well. So let's get you a closer examination between the two releases that we've received for Ahsoka Tano. So getting you a look at your two different versions of Ahsoka. Again, you have your Clone Wars version and you have your Rebels version. Obviously, the Rebels version is an older version. You can definitely see that in the face. And then you see the differences in the outfits, the color in her trails, I think they're called. And then of course the length as well, which everyone had an issue with the length of her trails in the Mandalorian. But I think that was done because having them so long would get in the way of all of the stunt work that they would need to do. So there is a look at your two different versions of the Black Series Ahsoka Tano figure. Very, very cool. And then of course, getting you guys a look at my custom Ahsoka Tano. And when I say custom, I didn't really do anything specific to the figure itself, except give her the cape and cowl that was originally on the Rey Octu figure. And obviously, again, I put it here on the Ahsoka Tano Clone Wars figure, and it worked out pretty good, I would have to say. I think she looks pretty good. And again, it does serve two purposes. Even though this is the younger version of Ahsoka, it still kind of fits in the Mandalorian because she has the cape and cowl on. You can kind of hide the fact that this is a much shorter and younger version of Ahsoka. And then again, you can also use it for the ending of the Clone Wars, again, where she is at the crash site of the ventilator, and she is mourning all of her troopers that died in the crash. She has this same look if you have not seen that scene from Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 finale. So that is my custom figure of Ahsoka. All right, you guys, so we're going to get into the diorama phase of the review. We are going to have a couple of different dioramas here. We're going to have the throne room scene from the Siege of Mandalore, where we have the battle between Ahsoka Tano and Darth Maul. Unfortunately, I don't have a customized Maul from the Clone Wars. Actually, the Maul that you see sitting on the throne is actually a bootleg Maul that I mistakenly got from China. And I always use him in my dioramas because it's much easier to use that particular figure. So I'm gonna go with that particular Maul, who obviously would not be aesthetically correct for that particular diorama, but we're just gonna kind of overlook that here. And we'll also have a diorama with my custom Ahsoka Tano as she is battling the Mandalorian, as seen in the episode 5 of season 2 of the Mandalorian. And then we're also going to see the battle, the Mandalorian Commando and the 332nd clone trooper. So we're going to get all of that done here in diorama fashion here today. which will also include my army build, so stay tuned.
Every choice you have made has led you to this moment.
I am here to bring you to justice.
Justice is merely the construct of the current power base. A base which, according to my calculations, is about to change.
And Darth Sidious is behind it?
He is behind everything. In the shadows, always.
What do you want with Anakin Skywalker?
He is the key to everything.
To bring balance to the Force?
To destroy. He has long been groomed for his role as my master's new apprentice.
You lie.
I see the Padawan needs one last lesson.
All right, you guys. So there is your Clone Wars wave of figures, which includes your Ahsoka Tano, your loyalist Mandalorian, your Mandalorian Commando Trooper, and your 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper. Very, very cool stuff. Very cool figures. I love each and every one of these. Small little nitpicks amongst the complaints for these particular figures. Not a lot of complaints here. The biggest gripe is the holders for the lightsabers for Ahsoka. They have two small peg holes on the side of her hips. However, they tend to pop out and fall out very easily. The garment rides so close to her hips, it just doesn't allow enough room for the pegs to get it in there. So just a little nitpick in regards to all of that. But as far as the articulation, the detail, the design on all of these figures is absolutely awesome. I really enjoy making this diorama and reviewing these figures because they're absolutely awesome. Like I said, this particular wave was most definitely an army build wave, and that's why I went all in on this particular wave. I actually still have a few more figures that should be on their way out of this particular wave. I have a couple of more Mandalorian Commandos coming. I have a couple of more loyalists coming, and I should have 3 more of the 332nd clone troopers coming as well. I just didn't want to hold this review up for the remainder of those figures to show up, so went with what I have here. So guys, excellent figures. I absolutely love these figures, guys. Definitely, as I had mentioned, an army build wave. Let me know, guys, are you army building out of this particular wave, and which of these figures are you army building? Is it the 332nd clone troopers? Is it the loyalist Mandalorian, or is it the Mandalorian Commando, guys? Let me know and put those comments down below. And then in regards to the Ahsoka figure, how do you feel about the Ahsoka figure? What do you think about the Clone Wars design, guys? I think she's absolutely amazing. Put those comments down below and let me know, guys. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And of course, guys, from the Father to the Son to the Obi-Wan Force Ghost, may the Force be with you always.